I cannot expect to withdraw from my marriage what I have not sown into my marriage. So if I have not sown and given love, if I have not sown and given attention and affection, then on my low days, I can't expect to pull from it what I haven't deposited.
How's everyone doing? This is the Marriage Matters podcast with Dr. Garza Jr.
And Ruby Garza, licensed marriage and family therapist. Hi, everyone.
Hey, so we did our podcast with financial management. Mm-hmm. We had so much to say. We ran out of time and we said, hey, you know what? We need to do a part 2. So here it is.
We always run out of time. We always have a lot of things to say, but it is important.
It is. It's truly important. And this is why we want to do a part 2.
Correct.
And just kind of finish up those topics that we were kind of talking about.
Right.
So again, if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do so. We would be so honored, and share this with someone. So I want to start today by reading Proverbs 11:25, okay? And Proverbs 11:25 says this: a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed.
Wow.
We were talking this last podcast that giving eliminates greed. Mm-hmm. So we want to be generous people. You know, we talked about tithing, how tithing is important, but now tithing is the foundation to the New Testament, right? It's a foundation to our giving now. And at 10% really is minimal now. We should be living generously. And this is why I wanted to read Proverbs 11:25, because not only as a ministry do we believe that, we believe that as a married couple. Right. So those married couples that are perhaps right now, Ruby, they're thinking like, well, how can I be generous if I'm barely making it? Mm-hmm. Some of the things we talked about last time was budgeting, right? And we gave a little bit of our experience that other podcast, so go back to that. But add a little bit to the process of budgeting, how important it is to live within your means. There's a phrase that you use to for some of the young ladies and the young men that have come our way from time to time. What is that phrase?
I will often tell the girls on our staff, because we get into I want what someone else has. And I tell the girls, act your wage.
Act your wage. That's a good one.
And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to get them to think. And that goes back to budgeting. Yeah. What do I have and what can I spend on? Because I think really when you're talking about giving, something happens in your heart when you understand the concept of giving.
Right.
And when we mention tithing, that's the foundation of it. That's where you learn not just to prioritize, because it's not always about us. There's so much more in this world than our own needs and our own wants. Mm-hmm. And tithing really puts that into perspective. So when we've had conversations about where we want our finances to bless, because we talk about when we pick up offerings at church or whatnot, we talk about how giving or tithing is a seed that we are sowing, right? Mm-hmm. We sow, I'm not really good with plants. And I know at the beginning of our marriage, my husband, we planted little plants in the front of our house. So we were trying to create a beautiful decoration or decorate our house with plants. And I think the 2 or 3 plants that I planted died. But anyways, the concept is when we plant seeds of giving, it brings beautiful fruit because we're giving it, as you read earlier in the other podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
We're giving cheerfully, and that's the idea when we give.
Right, because going back to what we talked about last time in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, that says, whoever sows sparingly will reap sparingly. Whoever sows generously will reap generously. And those are principles. Those are not our principles.
Mm-hmm, right.
Those are divine biblical principles from a God that does not lie. Right.
And these are things that have worked through the transcourse of time, and they continue to be applicable in the way we live our lives and the way that concept and those things bless others.
Right, because again, giving eliminates greed.
Correct.
Right, because we understand that we have it by grace, and it's nothing that I did to deserve it, but the Lord has graciously given to us. So because now we've been given by grace, so what do? Now we give by grace, right? Because now we become a flow of heaven towards people. It's like it comes into my life, and then I am able to sow it, to spread it out. Yeah, some of those things are bills, some of that it's Spectrum, and it's the bank, right? Because my car, my home, the rent, whatever it is.
But even when you think about those things, those are blessings to our children, to our home, to our marriage. I mean, those are things that shouldn't hurt because those are necessary things.
Right.
Now, when we talk about giving and how it transforms our heart, there's also an important concept that there should be transparency in giving.
Sure.
If it's honest giving, and if it's giving of your whatever it is, we're going to get into all the other kinds of giving in a little bit, but there has to be transparency, especially within our finances when we're married.
Right.
I have to know what you're spending on, and you have to know, not but detail by detail. But you have to know, hey, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to, purchase some things. Do you need something? If there's transparency, then there's no room for hidden secrets, and there's no room for, things that we could do without being honest with one another.
Right. So when we talk about financial management, obviously it's order, right? We have to order our finances so that we know what's coming in, what's going out, and we're also prudent, and that we're saving, right? That we are also putting things away, that we're planning for the future. We talked about short-term and long-term goals, and all those things are very, very important for us. But one of the safeguards that we've talked to many couples about when we talk about financial management, when we talk about giving and structure, is that there is transparency. The enemy will use anything and everything within a marriage to bring strife, stress, to bring moments of, hey, are you sure that's what you're doing with the money?
Doubt.
He sows those things into our hearts, and he'll use it all to separate, right? So what we tell couples often, what we tell couples often is there needs to be transparency in every aspect of your marriage, including your finances.
Right.
Probably at the very top needs to be finances, because now it's become so easy, right? With Amazon, with different online stores that with just a couple of clicks, I mean, you have hundreds of dollars, spent, and you have boxes that are arriving that the spouse might not know about, right? It's like, why do we have 5 boxes? Why is my ring going off? And this, now it's FedEx, then it's Amazon, then it's UPS, then it's the USPS. What's going on, right? And all of those things start to manipulate your mindset and violate, in a sense, the trust that you may have for your spouse.
Right.
So we just tell you with all of our heart, there has to be transparency in your finances.
Right, and that means communication.
Right.
It means talking about, what the needs are and what the wants are, because I think it's absolutely okay to, buy things that meet our needs, but it's also okay to buy things that meet our wants. Somebody asked me not too long ago, is it a sin to purchase? It was an expensive handbag. And my advice was, well, one, do you give your tithes? Yes. Okay. Is your spouse okay with this purchase? Yes. Okay. Your children, do they have what they need? Yes. Then, the Lord has given you free will to spend your 90%. As you wish, as we talked about previously, prioritizing the things that need to be taken care of. But then if you have room because you've saved, then why not? I don't think it's a bad thing to do. I think that if it fits your budget, after you and your husband have been in agreement, or you and your wife have been in agreement, I think it's okay to do some of those things.
Sure. I mean, the Bible says that God will supply according to his riches and glory, right? So the Lord meets our needs. And I think sometimes if we become good managers and stewards of what God has placed in our hands, then we're able to do those little extra things, right? Go on that vacation without getting into debt, right? Buying that handbag without getting into debt.
Correct.
You know, without getting all these things without getting into debt, because debt is not from God, right? God doesn't want you drowning in debt and an APR. You know, that's not God's plan for your life, and it's not God's plans. That's not God's plan for your children and for your grandchildren. Because a lot of times, what ends up happening is that instead of leaving an inheritance for our children and our grandchildren, we're leaving them debts.
Correct.
Right. So what we do, and this is, again, this works for us, and we've seen God's hand in this, is we have one checkbook, and we both have access to it. We do have separate savings accounts, but again, we both have access to it. Any moment that you want to go in there and you need to draw out something for an emergency or whatnot, you can absolutely do that, and vice versa. So again, transparency, I think, goes a long ways. Now, we want to talk about giving generously, because we talked about that, Proverbs 11:25. So go ahead.
I think giving generously kind of, now we're looking at giving from another perspective, because we're talking, we just talked about giving in finances, but now we're talking about giving generously. You know, I think it's important to understand that whatever it is that we give, that's what we believe in. Or in other words, we give to what we believe in, right? So if I believe in my children's education, then I'm not going to have an issue paying for their college tuition. If I believe in a beautiful home, then I'm not going to have an issue paying my mortgage at the end of every month. We give to what we believe in. You know, we are so, there's people that, you know, really have a heart for certain organizations. So, you know, we have, for example, we give to Compassion International. This is not a commercial for them, but we believe in what they're doing because we've seen firsthand. So we give to what we believe in. And so talking about husbands and wives, the relationship, your home, your family, it's also important not just to give of your finances, but to give of your time, to give of your attention to one another, because that's another form of giving.
Yeah, absolutely. When you give more than just, you know, not that it's easy, right? But it can become very routine to just give your tithe, give an offering, go to the food bank, give to the thrift store, you know, give to a family. I mean, that can be very routine. It can be very mechanical, right? But living a life that is generous is going above and beyond. It's saying, okay, you know, in this case, right? We're believers, we're Christians. We believe in the kingdom of God. We give to the kingdom of God, but we don't just give finances. We give our energy and our strength. We give our time. We give our effort. Everything that we do, we try to live a life that reflects the generous God that we serve.
Correct. So when we're giving time and when we're giving attention, it doesn't just mean that we believe in it. It means that we care about it.
Right. Our marriage too, for example, we separate time for that. We give our effort. We give to each other. Right.
Correct.
We do the same thing to our children. We believe in them. You know, my children are both musicians, and one thing that we told them from a young age is that, you know, because of our belief in them, we're going to supply to them whatever they need to develop that passion within them. Right. We bought our oldest son a piano. You know, we bought him a computer. You know, our younger son, we bought him pedals and guitars. You know, things like that to get them going because we believe in them.
Right, but not just the buying or the purchasing of the physical, tangible stuff, but for example, you know, our youngest plays the guitar, so we bought him the equipment. Our oldest plays the keys. He has the equipment, but also to give of the time and the effort to show that you are interested. Like, okay, let me spend some time, you know, talking about this instrument, training, because I think when you look at it from that perspective, you know, you could buy your spouse something, you could buy your children something and just say, here you go, and walk away from it. But when you invest time and attention to the person that you believe in, it changes the game. Not just am I handing you a guitar, but let me sit with you and teach you how to strum it. So that goes above just giving. Now we're talking about giving generously.
Right. Because, one thing that you brought up right now was time. Time is your greatest resource. It's not money, right? Money, you can figure ways out, right? To bring money in, to whatever, invest it, whatnot. But time is like water in a river. Like it doesn't flow again. It comes and it
Passes
goes,
by.
and you never touch it. You never touch that moment again. So this is why, right now when we talk about giving extravagantly, I think when you give extravagantly, it's not just giving a certain dollar amount, but it's giving
care.
It's giving you into the cause.
Right.
Your marriage, you give yourself to the cause of marriage. We had a conversation the other day, and we're about to end, but I think this will be a podcast in the future when we're talking about soulmates, right? Like, do we believe that there's a soulmate? And without getting into that topic, one of the things that we did say was that you kind of create that soulmate by what? By providing care, by providing time, by developing that relationship. But you have to give extravagantly. You give to me what you don't give to anyone else, and I give to you what I don't give to anyone else. Material, tangible, and intangible things, right?
Right, because I cannot expect to withdraw from my marriage what I have not sown into my marriage. So if I have not sown and given love, if I have not sown and given attention and affection, then on my low days, I can't expect to pull from it what I haven't deposited. I cannot withdraw, $100 from the bank if I never deposited $100 in the bank. And the same thing goes with marriage, with families. You have to be willing to invest what you want to sow from it.
So I end with the verse that I started with, Proverbs 11:25, that says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Hey guys, until next time, this is Marriage Matters with Dr. Elias Garza Jr.
and Ruby Garza, licensed marriage and family therapist.
See you soon.